why should anybody, why should voters believe some words when they've seen in history other people make the pledge and break it?
Well, I think that's Bill, that is a great question, and I hope that gets asked to me for the next, 29 or 30 days. Look, back in 1980, 81, the Republicans wanted to raise taxes in Ohio. They did. I said, no way, no how. In Congress in 1993, George Bush broke his word. I said, no way, no how. And then in 1995, when I became the chairman of the Budget Committee, I said not only would we not raise taxes, but that we would cut taxes. So listen, for most politicians, the public believes if their lips are moving, they're lying. And I understand that. But the best way to understand what somebody is going to do is to study what they've already done. I have a history of being a tax cutter. It has worked. Ted Strickland has a history of being a tax raiser. It has not worked, and he will do it again and drive Ohio deeper into the ditch. So Bill, I understand how business thinks. I understand how job creators think. You raise their taxes, I tell you, they're already looking across the border. And the closer they are to the border, the more our jobs are at risk. And so the simple fact of the matter is, you keep raising taxes, you're going to continue to damage Ohio's very fragile economy. It is not a choice for us.
Does that pledge include fees?
I don't know. I'm not looking for more revenue here. I don't, fees, look, our goal is going to be to have a massive tax cuts over the course of my and Mary's administration. Because if we do not get that marginal rate on income taxes down, if we do not cut that death tax, and if we do not have the regulatory reform, the job training, and commercialization of products out of our laboratories and universities. But to me, you're going to raise a fee. I don't know. We may raise a fee on somebody that I don't know, that uses something. I don't know. But that is not the focus of what we're talking about here. And we will have no proposal where tax cuts don't overwhelmingly outweigh anything that could be involved in a fee. I don't even know what fees there would be.
So you don't back down from your pledge to phase out the income tax, or?
Oh no, but Reggie, I think
some details about how you would do that. A time frame for.
No, I can't do that because that wouldn't be.
How the money will be replaced in GRF.
Well, first of all, we're not going to just look at the GRF. When this is all over, this is not a time to get into a budget discussion because there's a what is the word? There's a culture here that only looks at half of the budget. I understand that. When this is over, I'm going to conduct a budget. I'm going to have Wayne Struble and Ben Kanzig and myself. We're going to have Budgeting 101, where we're going to try to give everybody an understanding of how the whole budget works. Secondly, Reggie, the ability to downsize the government and shrink the taxes means what? We could get some businesses to come in here. If businesses come in, we get more revenue. I was in Youngstown talking to the Vindicator, and I said, off the cuff, I said, don't hold me to this, but let's think about this. We have an empty building out here. Why don't we just have no taxes put on any business that locates in there? Because if you have no taxes, you're likely to get somebody to go in and use that building, and guess what? The people in there, they'll pay taxes because they'll have jobs. And Reggie, I got to change my tone here because I'm just trying to tell you that if we can make the environment more job creating friendly, we will get more revenue. If you read the Toledo Blade column, they will say in Indiana, which has been killing it in terms of getting jobs, the cost of doing business there is low. These folks will tell you, they represent the business community. If costs are low, taxes, workers' comp, regulatory, they are likely to expand their businesses. Then we have more revenue, Reggie, but you don't just do it all at once. Look, I have never been out there saying just slash taxes. I took a lot of heat in my career because they said, wait a minute here. You need to reduce overhead, you need to reduce taxes. They work together. And so that's what we're going to do, Reggie. And if we're not growing this economy by making the state more competitive, you know, then I'll become a Democrat. How's that? I pledged it before in '93. It turned out I was right. I'll be right this time as well. Roger, you want to say a word about how taxes flow to the bottom line and how lower taxes can generate more business?
Again, it's simple, and it's been said many times. Reform comes with changing the regulatory environment and changing the tax environment. And Mr. Kasich has said it well. You do it over a period of time. You've got to be able to create the jobs. There's no question that studies after studies after studies show that if you have a vibrant economy, because you're creating jobs, you're expanding businesses in this state, large and small, you will have more money than you know what to do with as government.
But we're going to give it more of that back. We're going to give it to the government.
But my point is that you will generate the revenue stream that you need when you create the right type of tax environment for the self-employed, and you create the right type of regulatory environment for all companies in this state. You do those two things, you'll expand the base. It's the concept of expanding the tax base. You expand the tax base, you will have the revenues that you need to properly function government with and make sure that all the essential services of government are there. What we do believe is that we also need a healthy belt tightening, because we also believe that there's lots and lots of examples of where government simply has been too expansive and has not made the tough decisions that small business owners are making and that every family in Ohio is making.
You know, let me also say, you know, part of the problem, Reggie, is, look, take out your pen and your notebook and just go out and talk to small business people and ask them. Don't take the pen and the paper in there. The minute you go in with a pen and the paper and a necktie, you're intimidating people. Seriously. Reggie, I hear this everywhere I go. It doesn't matter whether I'm in Cleveland, in Dayton today. The guy raised his hand at this business meeting. He said, I wish you could just kill the income tax because we can't compete. He said that. I didn't ask him. I'm saying to you, if you go out and you talk to the real business community, get out of the Beltway. You're going to hear this from everybody. So the deal is, if I were to say, I could do this, and I can't tell you how long. I know this. If I tell businesses that there is certainty your taxes are not going up, they are going to come down, and they are going to come down in a planned and reasonable fashion, they can plan. They can be confident. They can be certain that we're not going to jerk them around one day and kill their ability to make a profit. So once we know what the numbers are, and once we start moving, and once we get some successes, once I can get a biotech company to come into Cleveland, once I can get companies in Cleveland to commit to work with us to bring suppliers into Ohio because the environment is better. You know, once these things start happening, we get more revenue. It rises all boats. If we don't do it and keep raising taxes, CEOs who are investors say, I'm not going to Ohio. The proof's in the pudding. 41 other places have done better than us. The CEOs and the leaders and the business community says, Ohio is not where I want to go. I mean, what else you got to say? Okay, I'm getting on the verge of... Yes, sir.
You've been critical of the governor's use of the tobacco money. There's about $300 million of that still sitting in the Treasury because of the Supreme Court. If you're elected governor, will you put that money back into an anti-smoking program instead of using it to shore up the budget?
Well, look, I mean, the bottom line on that is I'm not taking anything on or off the table, but what I will tell you is you don't take a 44-year stream of revenue, create a bond, run it off in 4 years to run your government. Okay, you know, there may be things that you do that take care of one-time problems, but again, it's rating things that are there for purposes of managing through difficult times. You don't do it to cover up a hole only to find yourself deeper in the hole. It's just that simple. So, you know, my criticism of this is, you know, bonding this out and taking the money and using it to operate your budget when you should be controlling your costs is not acceptable.
One more question.
If it weren't for a handful of Senate Republicans, the Democrats and Governor Strickland would not have, in the words of your supporters, reneged on that last year of promised tax cuts. What's your view of those 5 Senate Republicans?
Great Americans, I don't agree with them. You know, Bill, I have no problem disagreeing with people in my own party. I disagreed with them in corporate welfare. I disagreed with them on the B-2 bomber. I mean, I fought the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. You can't, you know, you can't paint me that way. Look, I don't wear a uniform, and we shouldn't wear uniforms. You know what I believe? I believe this economic program that I'm proposing will get Democrat support. And I believe over the course of the 4 years that I will be governor of this state, we will build some of the best bipartisan operations in the country. I have worked with Ron Dellums, I have worked with Ralph Nader, I have worked with Ross Perot. When you take Dellums, Perot, and Nader, I mean, what's left? Okay, we've gone from here to here. So Bill, it's a matter of not shutting somebody down because they wear the other uniform. You can't operate like that, because ultimately the success of this state will be driven in the longer term by putting a team together of Ohioans. And I think we can do it. All right, they all want me to shut up. Thank you all very much for coming, and see you again.